episode 40, Scott Cast Part 6.
Scott Cast Part 6, Benjo.
It's been a while.
It has been a minute. But we are finally getting around to the
Yeah.
very last episode of Season 1.
Scott Cast Part Siente.
Siente. Is that Spanish or
It's
French?
Spanish.
Spanish. Well done. You know more than I do, Benjo.
Wow.
It's great to be back. What you been up to?
I've been up to lots of stuff. School, football, golf, music, you know.
Right on. The reg. Yeah. Well, man, this is quite a setup we just put together here. We're going to get I promise you we're going to get these out to you more often. And we've got the setup straight now, so we're not going to have to spend half an hour setting everything up, right?
Right.
Do you believe me?
I believe you.
All right. Benjo, Scott Cast Part 6. A lot of what we're talking about is the picks. Do you remember me talking about the picks before? P-I-C-T.
Yes, I do.
You do. The picks, so Jamie kind of says, look, the picks were so influential. I mean, Scotland could have been called Pickland. You know,
Yeah,
they went
yeah.
with Scotland. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about with the Picts and the Scots is a lot of it's legendary. Some of it's not necessarily backed up by the archaeological or historical record. But anyway, Alba is another name for what they call Scotland, the area known as Scotland. So anyway, Benjamin, we're kind of going back again. We've talked about a lot of these folks in what we've already talked about, but we're going up north and kind of doing a separate chronology. We're going to catch up north. I'm gonna try to not get way down in the weeds with you here and keep your attention. Jamie talks a lot about the Picts. Says they were likely a fairly aggressive northern tribe, or just an easy name that the folks that were writing down the history used for multiple tribes and just lumped them all together. And Jamie then goes on to say, it doesn't appear that they were a specific group, but that they were undoubtedly the last of the native Britons before the Romans and the Anglo-Saxons got to them. So when we think of the native Britons, a lot of what we think about is here in Wales and here in Scotland. There's some over here in the east, but mostly the Welsh and the Scottish. So when he says that they were probably the last of the native Britons, is Jamie leaving out these? I mean, he's talking about that the Picts up here were the last of the native Britons. Is he forgetting the Welsh?
What is the J Meister doing?
I don't know. I mean, he just made that broad statement, and I was like, well. One thing they talk about native Britons, and again, I think it's a big generality, and they're lumping them together. Pre-Roman contact, Roman assimilated Britons is the heavy presence of tattoos. They had a lot of blue ink on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and tattooing.
I have a lot of red ink on me.
Yeah, this guy's always writing crazy things. You still have it?
Kind of.
It's off.
Taylor.
He was saying Taylor Green for Heisman on his chest, and
He's gonna win.
quarterback for the Razorbacks.
If we fire Sam Pittman now.
Well,
I don't want to get into it.
we can't get into that right
Can't get
now.
into a rampage about that.
We'll get into that after the Notre Dame game.
All I gotta say is Taylor Green's the GOAT, so is Bobby Petrino, but Sam Pittman is the ungoat. That's all
Yeah.
I gotta say.
I got you. But Benjo, we're talking about like native Britons who first contact the first permanent contact that the Romans made was around what, like 41 AD?
41.
40? Oh my gosh, I didn't even mean to say that. But tattooing for native Britons is still mentioned in around 600, the year 600. So that tattooing lasted for a very long time, even after Roman contact. And it wasn't until 787 that this type of tattooing or tattooing in general was banned.
You should show me your tattoo.
We ain't got time for that. We ain't got time for it, Benjo.
Did you go from the? Oh wait, never mind.
But Benjo, let's get so we're going to start, for our purposes, the year 342. Again, after a while throughout the Roman Empire, the longer they were there, in whatever culture or civilization that they conquered, eventually those people assimilated into Roman culture and or became organized themselves and began to be able to fend off the Britons. So by the 4th century, the mid 4th century, the Picts, who by this point, the Romans have taken over all of this, and but there's still resistance. That's why they built walls, of course, right? In the 2nd century. But finally, the Picts, or the Scottish up here, are becoming a little more organized and cohesive as a unit to be able to resist the Romans. In fact, some Roman general had to rush in 342 to Britain to deal with the Picts burning forts. And that Constans, I think he was Constantius' son, or Constantine's son.
Was Constantinople, now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Been a long.
What time are we at?
7:10.
So he tried to buy peace with the Scotty or the Pictish tribes, but again, trying to buy peace didn't seem to work. So that takes us to 360, where the Picts had broken those treaties, right?
Yeah.
And then Jamie gets into a little dialogue about the Scots, and there's a lot of historical legend that the Scots came over from Ireland to Scotland, but not a lot of it is supported by archaeological record. That's not to say there wasn't a lot of cross-Irish sea travel between Ireland and Scotland.
Yeah.
In fact, there undoubtedly was a lot, much more so than between, and I think there was a lot with Ireland and Wales too, but certainly not as much as with Ireland and the east coast of Britain. But bottom line is, I don't know that the Picts were some magical race of people that just appeared. And Jamie, I think, believes this too, that they were, that there may have been some misidentification, some grouping together, and the Picts became this legendary group, but they were really just native Britons, like the Welsh, like the Scots, and who interspersed with the Irish.
That's fair.
You think that's fair?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the mid 300s. You remember the Barbarian Conspiracy?
The Barbarian tribe, the Lost tribe?
No, the Barbarian Conspiracy was where barbarian or uncivilized troops that the Romans had conquered all kind of rose up together. And that was in the year 367. There had to have been some coordination. There had to be some coordination between tribes up here, tribes in France, tribes on the continent. They didn't just magically all rise up the same year, and so the Picts were part of that organization and union and cohesive unit. They even, after the Barbarian Conspiracy, Theodosius took over and tried to set up basically a buffer zone between north and south tribes. But there was still some infighting amongst the Scottish or Alba tribes, okay? And really it doesn't appear that there's a whole lot of reason why we're calling them Scots and not Picts, or Scots and Albans. But some...
I have to put it in the chronicle, you feel me?
Yeah.
They need to write this stuff down. We need to understand it better.
Yeah. we need...
What are we doing?
Just wait. What are
we doing?
Again, I'm in the year 1099 right now. And the record, there's a lot to write. So, the podcast is lasting forever.
Yeah.
But just...
How long have you been in the year 1099?
Just got there. This past episode. What was that, 494?
How long does a year last now?
It just depends. It could be forever. We were on 1098 forever.
So...
Felt like. Of course, 1066 forever.
How long do you think how many episodes do you think 1776 would last?
Oh, buddy, we're.
I know that.
How many episodes? Maybe 100. I don't know.
Wow.
But I mean, but 1776 again. That's in the colonies. If you're talking about just what's going on in Britain, you know. But anyway, Benjo, just as over the last 300 plus years that we've been talking about the Romans slowly coming up through Britain and conquering and colonizing, you would have native British tribes who would turn on other British tribes to try to curry favor with the Romans, right? You know, looking back on it now, it's easy for us to say, but it does seem like kind of cowardice, right?
And
to sell out your fellow.
In history right now, I'm learning about. We just finished like around 1776 and all that, and the French and Indian War.
Oh yeah.
And so that just kind of reminded me of like the Native Americans would, like, they started to side with the British at some point because they offered more resources and stuff, or
right.
like to meet their needs, and then they side the French and stuff. It just reminded me because you were like, yeah, I'm saying a lot.
That's exactly right, though, Benjo. You're exactly right. They were trying to figure out who to side with. What was? You got a couple of interests. You've got immediate, what can help you immediately versus what can help you in the long run, right? And what, like, if they combine their forces, maybe they lose some men fighting, but ultimately they, you know, their tribes are free, you know, or are not under Roman control. But that's what one of the things that Maximus, the Roman leader, was doing. He was trying to like pit tribes against each other, and so again by the 8th century, the 700s, the Picts were much more organized, but geography had made organization difficult. But by that point, the 700s, the Romans are long gone, and who they are organizing against is the English kingdoms, you know, like we learned about in the last kingdom. So, Benjo, one thing Jamie talks about is this potentially
Why did you write tattooing down? Why did we talk about tattooing before?
There were several parts of the episode, and I wanted to, when I talk about tattooing over here, I just wanted to group it all together.
Okay.
You know, just some of my notes that you'll see. You talking this out on camera. How about you? So Jamie gets into...
We really do need to do a behind the scenes.
We do. For the end of season 1.
We should.
And some more shorts. Y'all like the shorts?
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Like the video if you like the shorts.
And y'all want us to even keep this podcast going?
Of course
Just
they
kidding.
do.
We're going to keep it going even if you don't want it. Because it's fun and you're learning stuff. But Jamie gets into a ruler named Chrythne, Chrythne, which I'm glad that the podcast has a transcription, because some of these words I don't know how to spell them, and I look at the transcription, I'm like, oh, okay.
That's on like the podcast app.
Right. Well, it's on not the actual British History Podcast app, but the...
I thought you were talking about our podcast.
Oh, no.
Our podcast does have it.
Yeah, with YouTube it does that, right?
Like, captions, and then it also has a podcast app and Spotify or whatever just automatically does that. Right.
But Benjo, Chrythne sounds like was probably some semi-legendary or mythical ruler of Alba or Scotland. And the reason I think he was simply because there's not much archaeological record of, and he was allegedly from Ireland, and according to legend, he had 7 kids, and he divided Alba or Scotland into 7 counties and distributed those counties amongst his kids. But you got to keep in mind that was written by Bede. He was a historian called the Venerable Bede. He was a monk from the 700s, and he took a lot of liberties with the truth. So we're going to talk about Bede later on too.
If there were three, like he let his 7 kids rule over 7 what? Countries?
Counties is what they said. Yeah.
Would you let me rule? Would you trust me with the county?
I'd give you a county. I'd give you 2 counties.
2 counties.
Yeah. Bro gets 2 counties. We call you 2 County Benjo.
2 counties.
And so anyway, we talked a little. Jamie mentions Krithna, another, and this wasn't a legendary figure. This was a real person named Niall, basically, but Niall of 9 Hostages. He was of Ireland, and he was a high king in Ireland. They called him Niall of 9 Hostages because he ruled over these kingdoms, and in ruling over these kingdoms, to ensure that these kingdoms behaved, he took hostages from each one of these 9 kingdoms.
So you took
and held them hostage.
One hostage from each?
Maybe, yeah. It sounds like it was just 1 hostage each. And if they misbehaved, if those kingdoms got out of control, he would kill the hostage. So there's incentive for them to, and the hostages were undoubtedly like of high birth, high rank, royal family, so that they meant business, right? So they didn't kill just some nobody, but everybody's somebody. We know that now.
Yeah.
But,
everybody has a voice.
But anyway, Niall of 9 Hostages of Ireland, the hostage taking took place in Scotland, which makes me think potentially that he was ruling over some of the Scottish areas. Was he?
Right there, cuz.
Was he?
Right there.
But anyway, we're talking about Bede. Well, before we get to Bede, one more thing about North and South. The North and South of Scotland fought each other often until about the 600s. And the North, way up north, had been dominant this whole time. Eventually, power shifted down to the south of Scotland, which is still in the north of Britain, to the south of Scotland. But anyway, getting back to Bede. Bede, this is where I think he loses credibility among other parts of his work. He says that there are 4 races in Britain. The English, and this is in the 700s. The English, the Welsh, the Irish, and the Picts, which I'm assuming the Irish and the Picts are both up in the northern part of Britain. But Benjo, in a nutshell, Roman occupation, for the 400 years that Rome occupied this island and colonized this island, what they really did was, one of the large things, one of Jamie's points is, they
developed the language
separately.
Yeah.
They kind of divided the northern Britain culture from the southern Britain culture. And so northern Britain culture kind of developed independently. So let's say they were speaking the same language, or at least some of these tribes were speaking the same language before the Romans got there. Well, they just keep speaking the same language, and over 400 years it changes a little bit. And even the British tribes, while they're under Roman occupation, they're speaking that same language, and it changes a little bit, but they don't have the interaction to understand how each language changes. So I thought that was interesting. The languages,
that is interesting.
But anyway, again, the moral of the story is the Picts were one of the last native Britain tribes, and they disappear, but they don't disappear. They just they intermarry with Scots, and they live on. We probably have Picts blood in us, as do most people.
I got it in my veins.
But anyway, Benjo, next episode we're finna jump back to the year 410.
It's been a great first season.
Great first season. I would love to get. If anybody has any pull with Jamie, we'd love to get him as a special guest.
Here's an AI generated photo of us with Jamie on the podcast. That's what it would look like That's
I
what
don't even know if there's
ChatGPT shows that it would
I don't
look
know
like.
if I've never seen a picture of Jamie's. I don't know what he looks like.
You don't?
Uh-oh.
I've looked him up before.
You have?
Yeah. But that was the generated photo. It's been great teaching y'all.
You've been a great producer, and you look tired, and we got to get to bed.
It's 10 o'clock right now, not a.m. We do most of our podcasts at night.
Because it's BHP After Dark.
Not because that.
Just when we can fit it in.
Yeah.
But y'all, we'll see you next. I've been B.
I've been Benjo, and we've been
BHP After Dark.
You made that. But see ya.
Don't believe